southeast. Yep, down the hill. This is the site here. Ceremony Shopping Center would be to the left of the screen. This gas station here.
Yeah.
So in 2004, the City Council approved a rezoning and subdivision for 200 condominium units and a 137-room hotel building. Those entitlements are in the zoning and remain in place today. In 2009, a gentleman named John Hansen received approval from the city's design review committee for a 5 residential building design, 200 condominiums, no change to the hotel. And the design of it changed, and the site plan changed slightly, and we actually have that plan we can show you. So moving forward to 2014, the current property owners proposed zoning amendments as well as general plan amendments to reduce the building count and increase the number of units and turn the hotel into some senior condos. That's not what we're looking at tonight. The plan has since changed. So this is the previous site plan that was approved. This is what we call, John Hansen's plan. These are the residential aspect of the project. It remained at 5 buildings, which is what the zoning prescribes. And any change to the a plan development zone requires that a zone change be acquired by the applicant. So that's why we are here. So the current proposal is for 268 condominiums. 54 would be affordable, 1 and 2 bedrooms. This is an 11-story building. The density is 57 dwelling units per acre, and it exceeds the density and the high density designation, so there's a general plan amendment that would be required for residential very high density. As well as the applicant is now, instead of the senior component that was proposed on that westerly portion of the site, is now proposing a 250-room hotel, 170,000 square feet in a 14-story building. So this is the current site plan, and we showed the previous design review committee approved site plan on purpose to show the changes to the amount of grading that would be necessary. So this proposal actually reduces the number of residential buildings which are shown in A, B, and C.
So this is actually flipped.
So north is up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, the letters are backwards, but that's
Yeah.
the way the buildings are lettered. And then D is the hotel. So the 268 units are here, and then the 250-room hotel would be here. And here's Ceremony Boulevard. So this site plan does present less grading, although with less grading increases the height of that the structures would need to be to accommodate the number of units proposed. So that's the current site plan.
The hotel is further away from Gellert. It's not on the Gellert side, it's on the other
Yeah,
side.
it's right next to the gas
Yeah,
station.
that's right.
at Calvin.
That's right. So if we look at it,
Up the
this
hill.
is a right. So this is we can put things in context with this probably best. So this is the conceptual building, massing, and these first 3 are residential buildings. So building A, B, and C, and then this is the hotel, the 250 room hotel building. And right, the gasoline station would be over here, and the McDonald's would be over here to the left. This is the intersection going into Target.
And behind it is the Chinese cemetery,
That's
correct?
correct. The
Okay.
cemetery would be up here.
Got it.
And just at this edge would be the Innisfree
Up
Street. where
off the screen to the left, upper left. That's correct. So one of the things, and this is just a very conceptual building mass sort of diagram, but there are a lot of trees on the site, and through the years, we've heard concern about the amount of grading that would be necessary for this project, tree removal. This proposal does, in fact, result in less grading and less tree removal. So, and those trees staying does have the effect of screening some of the taller buildings from adjacent uses to the south. This is a longitudinal section moving through the site from east to west. It shows, and it's hard to see, but the underground parking, tuck under parking that would be provided as part of the project. So a good number of floors, if you will, of parking garage are actually underneath the ground and not open to the sky.
How many?
I believe it's 2 or 3. Yeah, at least 2. But all of the parking would be provided in this fashion. This is a podium axonometric. It essentially shows the grading that, just in case we need to discuss that at all with the building outlines. Some typical sections. See, we do show the three floors of the underground parking there. We're just trying to give the council an idea of what's above ground, what's below ground in these types of drawings. So we've identified 5 issue areas, and the council's, of course, welcome to bring up any additional issues that it feels are important to discuss. Building height, of course, project density, architectural design, affordability, environmental review. All of these issues were outlined in the staff report. We won't go into too much detail in the presentation, but those are issue areas staff's identified. Yeah, and that's basically concludes our presentation. If there are any questions the council members have of the staff or the applicant.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Tell me a little bit about what the hotel would look like. Would it be a Hampton Inn? What hotel? Would it be a traveler's hotel? Would it be, what kind of hotel would be in that location?
We're going to defer that to the architect. They probably have and the applicant, they probably have the best vision for what that might be.
Okay.
Hi, Albert Costa, architect.
What's your name again?
My name is Albert Costa, architect. We don't know which hotel or what hotel it would be at this point. But in terms of the design, we would be trying to make it interesting and have some, facade, changes and articulations to make it look good. But in terms of the actual brand of hotel, it's unknown.
I guess I wasn't saying brand, but category. Like, would it be
5-star,
class,
4-star?
4-star, 3-star?
Kind of amenities you got?
George Corey, if you can get
Can
up.
I latch on to your question?
Yeah,
'Cause it's in
sure.
the same
Yeah.
vein?
Yeah, absolutely can.
Like,
And I've got some of the
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
that fit on that
So,
as well.
there's 170,000 square feet. How much of that is banquet facility? Are you proposing a restaurant in it? Will there be 24-hour room service? That kind of thing.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is George Corey, 700 El Camino in Millbrae. I represent Mr. George Lamb and Mr. Henry Lamb, who are the owners of the property and the developers. Very quick story. We tried hard, believing that this was not feasible location for a hotel, to get some expert to tell us that it was not feasible so we could tell you that. 2 experts told us they would never say that. This was an excellent location and the demand was great. So we revised the plan to a 250-room hotel, which we believe gave us the best benefit and you. Now, when you get a hotel, as you may know as a developer, you have to team up with a flag, with somebody who's got an operation already, be it Marriott,
Hilton, whatever.
so whoever that turns out to be, I can assure you, no matter how much my client seeks to impose his will on their design, they're going to have their own ideas about a hotel. But all of those ideas have to come through you also. They're not going to build something that doesn't come through your planning commission and you. And you'll have a complete shot at that. There's one other thing I'd say about the hotel. A 250-room hotel similar to the El Rancho in Millbrae, the Westin in Millbrae, which is considerably larger, brings to the city a very significant benefit. Right now, the Westin is bringing $3 million a year in transit occupancy tax to the city of Millbrae. And that transit occupancy tax is only for the room tax. That doesn't go through anybody else. It comes directly to you. In addition to that, you get the regular property tax, any sales tax that a business generates on its own. So if you ask, for instance, will it have a banquet room and will it have a dance hall or will it have any other thing, the truthful answer could only be after somebody who is a hotel operator brings that to us. Can we tell you? Your thoughts and desires would certainly be important because they're going to have to listen to you too. The sooner we are able to tell those people what you want, the sooner we'll be able to get an operator. Forgive me, I left out one important thing. The hotel in Millbrae, the El Rancho, brings in about $1.2 million per year in transit occupancy tax. I didn't want to just leave you with only the $3 million, but those are the comparisons on the hotels. Remember, please, it's only the transit occupancy tax that pays that kind of money. There are the other benefits of sales tax, et cetera. Okay? May I answer any other questions, Councilman
Torres,
Torres?
did you have another question?
Thank you.
Just, so you're telling me as we sit here today, you do not have any flagship attached to your development project?
We do not.
Okay.
We-
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
have known this for about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
When we found that we could not get an expert to say it's not a feasible location for a hotel.
Mr. Gangona, go ahead.
Ms. Corey, I've got a couple questions about
Surely.
phasing. I know your experience as a council member before, you know how councils don't like things to be phased. I see 4 buildings, and my question is that if we were to, if this goes along, how would they be built? Would they be phased?
Once again, let me separate them and leave the hotel out for a moment. The 3 buildings would be built all together in the same sequence. And we would start with one of the buildings and move till it's completed, moving till the 3rd one is completed. To try and give you an honest answer about the hotel, once again, we're going to be talking to the hotel people. But, for instance, I may tell you that occupancy right now is about 85% in San Mateo County. They indicate it will go down a little bit next year, 2 or 3%. However, the room rate will go up. That being so, you can probably figure it's about the same benefit to a city, and the sooner a hotel builds, the sooner their cash flow starts on.
And that's my next question is that, so I'm sure that there'll be some sort of contractual assurances that the hotel will be built. What kinds of assurances would be negotiated to make sure that if we were to agree to something like this, that we would get for us the benefit, for at least for me, the benefit of the bargain is the hotel.
For sure.
So that we want to make sure that gets done.
But
So
this is a market condition pressure. If there is room for the hotel in a booming market, build it, they will come, well, they'll come and build it. Where the market is now, much to our surprise, is a booming market.
Hotel first.
We can't give you a better indication than that because I've worked with these hotels, and to say they have a mind of their own is an understatement, okay?
thank you, George.
Yeah, I have some
Ms. Christensen, go
questions. The hotel should be built first. That way we know we've got it. Because that's the only thing in this project that we actually want. We don't want the housing. We are the 2nd densest city in all of California, 2nd to San Francisco right now. And I don't know if you're familiar with that corner at the bottom end of the hill there?
The L shape?
Yeah. Even midday, the traffic there is horrendous. Condominiums are people who are going to work, rush hour morning, rush hour home. You look at, there's going to be, 268 condos, you figure a minimum of 2 people per unit. They're not close to the BART station, so they're going to be driving. I mean, you guys should look at that. Sit out there with a chair and just see how wild the traffic is there. Even when you go middle of the day, they've got the new Sprouts across the street. They're going to put in some new things at the shopping center. So when you have that drawing there, it looks like this thing is sitting out in the country. But you really, I mean, if you're going to be honest about it, you really need to draw it with the street at the corner so that you can look at how the lanes work.
Sure.
And where the McDonald's is, and, just be a little bit more realistic. It's lovely. It's out in the middle of, the hills in Santa Rosa someplace. But also the hotel, the kind of hotel that this city really wants is we want a hotel that has banquet facilities, that can have statewide meetings of large organizations, and enough different meeting rooms so that you can have a conference here, something like that. Big weddings. So if you've got 3 little meeting rooms and no restaurant,
Okay.
we don't need it. We need something that's really gonna serve and attract people. Also, I'm very concerned about the affordability. You say the 53 affordable units will be at moderate income. Do we know what income that is? I mean, I haven't looked at the chart in a couple of
Yes, we
years.
do.
Yeah, how much is
May I
it?
respond to some of those things, because you've got a lot of them there, and
Yeah.
very important ones. On the traffic, that's going to be an update of the EIR,
Oh, I'm fully aware of that.
and that will determine for us and for you how significant, I'll use the word traffic jams, would be or not be in that location. And obviously, if the EIR shows negative, then we're cutting back. But there ought to be ways to make that work, and it would not be fair for me to say it's definitely so, but I suspect that based upon the architect's work.
Yeah.
The second thing is that we can't guarantee a hotel being built there first. All we can guarantee is to get it rezoned that way and keep it that way until the market says a hotel comes in. And the truth is, nobody else can do anything better than that either in terms of bringing the hotel.
Hillside, 88.
We certainly don't want to keep open land there. This is an investment, and it's intended to return money to the owners. And so they have that anxiety as well. The EIR needs to be updated to cover all of those aspects of not just traffic, but everything else that will be included. So, in fact, I think that was
Yes.
given to you in the report,
Yes, it was.
and we would be sure that's done.
I got a question.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah. No, I
I
have
wasn't sure I answered some of that.
How much, the affordable units, how much money does the person make? Or the family income for those units?
May I sneak over here and get a chart?
Absolutely. And you don't even have to sneak.
It's kind of like sneaky.
While she's doing, can I ask Tatum a question?
Go ahead.
Tatum, so let me understand the height of these buildings. What's the height of the buildings in terms of, you mentioned the stories. How many stories is each building?
11, 11,
Yeah, well,
14.
typically, for a construction like this, we're looking at between 10 and 15 feet per floor. So just doing the math, you know, it equates to, you know, in the neighborhood of 150. The
standards
architect, I'm sure,
are
has
And
the
so
answer.
how does that correspond with the adjacent area?
Right, and that's something that we're taking a close look at. Some of the drawings show that let's see. So looking at this one, this wasn't in the presentation, but anticipating that question may come up. It shows the height of one of the residential buildings, so not the hotel building, with the slope behind it, trying to give some relationship as the slope continues more to the south. So it's, this sort of answers your question, but what we could do if the council so desires is require more sections, basically, that more fully answer that question. And we'd be prepared to answer that in a better way when the item comes to the Planning Commission and City Council.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What building would this be, if what's currently proposed, what would it be similar to? Would it be similar to Seton Medical Center? What would it look like in terms of, give me the height?
Seton is 9, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
This is 11?
Yeah, these would be
11?
taller.
Yeah,
than
these
that.
would be the
14.
tallest buildings in the
But
city.
it's 9 on top of a mountain.
So even taller than that.
And so they're not.
Yeah, they're
and-
all taller
and
than
You had
Seton.
mentioned earlier about the grading. There is no grading, more or less, right? So is it going to be set
Oh,
back?
no, there's grading. There's absolutely going to be some grading that would be required for construction of any project. Yeah, but it's reduced because the footprints are reduced. So we can, if you need to, we can take a look at compare the site plans.
Okay,
Can I,
go ahead, Mr. Torres.
I'm going to be very honest with you, Mr. Corey, because I don't believe in wasting people's time, but I got to tell you, I grew up in Los Angeles, and there was a nice little community out there when I first started going to school out there called Marina Del Rey. Beautiful place.
Oh, yeah, it is beautiful.
I go there now, I don't recognize it, because it's nothing but condos everywhere, and they look exactly like this. And there's a certain aesthetic to that part of town that I enjoy. And I'm not saying that I'm against to the development, but me, and I'm just being honest, and I'm 1/5 of this council, it's just massive. You're talking about 10 stories of buildings. And I agree with Councilmember Christensen here about the number of traffic. We have a challenge in the city, I think you could probably appreciate it, of traffic in town. Now, the reason we push for hotels is because we're in a state of fiscal crisis. That's no secret. We've made no secret of it. So I, again, wholeheartedly agree with Councilwoman Christensen, because my fear is, year one goes, you build the first condo, year two goes, you build the next condo, year three, you build a third condo. Now you got your condos, you got your RI back, and all of a sudden,
Can't do it.
market's not there for hotels, bye-bye hotel, because that's what happened to John Hanson. So if you build a hotel, that's why I asked which side of the street it's on. Because if you're building closer to the Gellert, you're probably going to build that one first. But it's way up on the hill, it's easy to forget about it. In about 5 years, some of us may not be here anymore, including myself. People will forget that there was a hotel promised. And the last thing I want is to have 3 massive buildings people come out of after they shop Target and go like, wow, look at the monstrosity of buildings we have in Daly City. If there was a hotel there, it'd be a little different. It's something that you can justify because we're trying to increase the revenue projections of this town. We're trying to help the town continue to rise out of the fiscal challenge we're in. So again, I'm not against the development, but this is, to me, it's just too massive. And I'm just being honest with you.
As always, Councilman Torres, there's something on one side and something on another. When we put in 268 units, we bring with it, and I'm getting back to Councilman Christensen's earlier idea, we bring 54 or more affordable units. Now, you want to know what the affordable units are and what range, and I have a complete chart here on San Mateo County, and your staff has agreed they would photocopy it, you would have it tonight or for whenever you want to look at it. Those 54 units are rather significant. You've never developed anything at one time with that kind of affordable housing in this city. What it brings you is the ability for city employees, for teachers, for the fire and police, and for other people you want living in your community to be able to live here in an affordable way.
Well,
Forgive me for
yeah.
ancient history.
I mean,
Well, let me
we
finish.
all fully understand that.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, if it's for the audience, that's fine. But like I said, we're already the second densest city. We have people living 7, 8, 9, 10 in a small 2-bedroom house. We need affordable housing for those people. We need affordable housing for people where 2 people work and they make $30,000 each. So we need to have a family of 4 making $60,000 moving into one of those condominiums. Otherwise, you're getting techie workers from San Francisco who want to be a little closer going south, or it's not for our people. If you build housing units, we lose money. We have to provide services for those people. All of that stuff costs us money. So I would not even consider this at all if the hotel was not built first, because we've been burned before. Hillside 88 used to be the landmark site. They were promising us an office tower. They were promising us landscaped property. None of it happened. It never happened. And this one went bankrupt, and that one went bankrupt, and they, sold it. And basically the neighborhood has a weed-strewn lot and an empty spot instead of all those things that were going to provide us jobs. And I know you're here to sell us on the deal, but I'm telling you, if that hotel doesn't come first, I can't be sold. And I don't want to see this much people. If you were to lower these buildings and you've got like maybe 4 stories with some in and out, with some kind of attractive architecture on the front, maybe we could talk. But even then, it would still be a talk, not a deal.
All right, any other comments?
No.
Let me just say, so Mr. Corley, thank you for coming and making your
Absolutely, thank you.
presentation today. I actually really like this plan and this idea. I think it's bold thinking, and I think it will generate a lot of revenue for our city. Obviously, you have heard the concerns of some of the council members here, and I'm sure you're going to understand and take it to heart, and hopefully take that into consideration as this moves forward. But I appreciate you coming. I thought, especially the hotel idea, it's going to be a wonderful addition to our city, and I thank you very much. Did you
Thank
want to
you.
say anything more?
Pardon?
Did you have anything else to say?
Oh, a lot more to say. But we all know that I'm better off not saying anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Mr. Van Wookhuizen?
Nope, that's,
And you're going to give us those number sheets, right, with the.
somebody's making a
Make
copy of
copy of
those.
that,
Sure.
right.
In an ownership project, though, our ordinance specifies for ownership prices at 120%, or
Right.
income at 120%, but that's what's specified in the city's
Yeah,
ordinance.
and
Okay.
that's way more money than any of our
By-
people make.
By the way, there was a
more than I
comment Mr.
ever
Corey
made.
made about, I think it kind of dovetails in your presentation on history, to change it from senior housing to hotel. When does that come in, or did we?
No, so the site was originally entitled for a 137-room hotel. However, when we first started meeting with the property owner, they actually were proposing to change the hotel to senior housing. So that was a switch with the developer, not with the zoning entitlement.
Oh, okay, so we didn't change-
So
so it's
the
still zoned for
zoning is
hotel.
still in place
Got
for
it.
a 137-room hotel,
Never mind, it's okay.
and they're
Okay, got it,
proposing
got
to
it.
increase it.
Got it.
And, right, and when we discuss the project further with the applicant, we can take a look at ways to, try and, assure that the hotel the site is prepped, things like that.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? If not, we're adjourned for this meeting. We're going to start up our next meeting. We're going to start the North San Mateo County Sanitation District. We all,
I don't think we have one.
I don't think we have
we
one.
do.
I don't think,
We do.
Oh, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
No one had the packet.
Did I even get the mess? I don't think I got an email. There it is.
Hey there.
All right, next to us. I'll feel so bad.
All right, just say aye when I do it.
Are you ready? Okay, good evening again, everybody. Let me start the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the North San Mateo County Sanitation District this Monday, October 26th. Let me get a roll call, please.
Here,
Here.
Here.
Present?
Present. All right, let me get an approval of the agenda.
So
Motion to-
moved.
Motion to approve. We have a motion.
Second?
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Let me go to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none, the consent is approved. Public appearances or communications, I have no speaker cards on any items for this meeting. Let me go on to new business. Item number 4, completion of new boiler and rehabilitation of existing hot water boiler design and installation project. Mr. Sweet.
Honorable Chairman of the Board of Directors, we're joined this evening by Plant Equipment Maintenance Manager Joshua Cosgrove, who will describe the completion of the project.
Thank you very much, Honorable Board Chair Buenaventura and members of the board. My name is Joshua Cosgrove. I'm the Plant and Equipment Maintenance Manager for the Department of Wastewater Resources. I'm here to recommend that the board accept as complete all work associated with the design and installation of a new hot water boiler unit and the rehabilitation of the existing hot water boiler unit at the wastewater treatment plant, and authorize the issuance of the notice of completion. Now, a little background and discussion. In February of 2013, this board authorized and awarded a contract to Bay City Boiler to perform this work in the amount, they were the lowest responsible bidder, and the work was not to exceed $245,975 to perform this work. There were 2 primary reasons for this work. One, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District in 2011 issued some new air quality regulations that made our existing hot water boiler out of compliance with those new regulations. So we needed to retrofit the existing one to meet those new regulations. And at the same time, the hot water boiler is an essential component of the solids handling process at the wastewater treatment plant. Anytime it went down, it was really an emergency situation to make the repairs and get it going again before we would violate, or we were at risk of violating our environmental permit. So it was, the decision was made to install a new one as a secondary and redundant unit. So as I stated, Bay City Boiler was the contractor. Their scope of work was to install the new boiler and then retrofit the existing one. And they began that process and completed the majority of the work, the main part of the work, by October of 2014. The other part of the scope of work was to hire an independent firm to perform the air emissions test, and that was Blue Sky Environmental. They did that emissions test in January of 2015. Unfortunately, they did the wrong test, and the contractor, Bay City Boiler, did not catch that, and the report was turned in to the management district. They reviewed it, took about a couple months to review it, and then they saw that there was a wrong test, rejected the report, sent it back to Bay City Boiler, who then were required to coordinate and schedule Blue Sky Environmental to come out and perform the correct test, which they did this last month, and the boiler passed the test. The report then was turned into the management district. They accepted the report, and we now are recommending that the board authorize the project as complete. There's one final payment left in the amount of $61,443.75. That was in retention, and there are sufficient funds available in the district's capital improvement fund to make that payment. And with that, that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, I
Ms.
have a
Christensen,
quick
go
one.
ahead.
When Blue Sky came back and redid the proper test, I'm assuming we did not pay them for that.
No,
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
You have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call?
District Board members Judith Christensen,
Yes.
David Canepa,
Aye.
Mike Ingona,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Sal Torres,
Aye.
and Chairman Raymond Buenaventura.
Aye. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Go on to number 5, which is the Board of Directors reports. Any Board of Director reports? Hearing none. Staff reports? All right, I got a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Great job.
All right, let's go on to our regular meeting of the Daly City Council. Would you please all rise to say the pledge? Our pledge allegiance to the flag Can you get a roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen,
Here.
Mr. Canepa,
Aye.
Mr. Gangona,
Here.
Mr. Torres,
Present.
Mr. Buenaventura.
Present. All right, let me go on to presentations. We have a presentation of the Institute of Local Government Spotlight Award for Daly City for accomplishments to improve energy efficiency and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Presenting is Melissa Kuhn, who is from the Communications and Development Manager, Institute of Local Government. Ms. Kuhn.
Thank you, Mayor Buenaventura, members of the City Council. I'm honored to be here this evening to recognize Daly City's accomplishments in the Institute for Local Government's Beacon program. We started the Beacon program to provide a framework for local governments to share best practices and help create healthier, more efficient, and vibrant communities. It recognizes local governments' voluntary efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, save energy, and adopt policies and programs that promote sustainability. New to the program this year, Daly City has already earned 2 Spotlight Awards, one for a 9% reduction in community greenhouse gas emissions and one for sustainability best practices. So thank you all for your leadership and dedication to these initiatives, and we really look forward to continuing to work with you as you progress through the program, and hopefully we'll be presenting many more awards to you in the future.
Great.
Thank
All
you.
What I'd like to
Ooh,
do
thank
is,
you.
Could you come up here so we can take a picture of all the council? And the
Beautiful.
photographer can take it from down there. Where's Sal? Oh, there he is.
Okay, how are we gonna do this? Like this, or like?
Come on in the middle. Okay.
Oh, got it, okay.
Ready? Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right.
I'll give it to
Obviously, I want to just thank staff and all the people in Daly City that has made
Did the rest of them
that
see it down there?
presentation possible. I think we are doing great things here in Daly City, and it's really nice to be recognized once in a while for really having the city's interest at heart. So thank you, everybody, for that presentation and for all your hard work. All right, let me go on to the approval of the agenda. I get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. The agenda is approved. Let me go to the consent agenda. Does any item here any council want to approve or pull any of the consent items?
I'd like to move the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion, and can I get a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. The consent agenda is approved. Now, let me go on to the rest of the agenda, but if I can get the indulgence of council, let me move up the public appearances, oral communications part, just for one particular item. Mr. Canepa. wanted
Sure,
to-
I was requested by a community member due to scheduling circumstances to have a public hearing, not public hearing, excuse me, public comment. And so I'm just making a motion if we can just take public comment right now.
Okay.
So that's
you
my
have a
motion.
For all issues.
For all issues,
Sure.
correct. So for everyone. for all
We have a
issues.
motion and a second. Is that second, Ms. Christensen?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, I have,
And y'all come on down and say something.
all right.
Turn in your cards.
Mr. Owens, did you turn in a card? I think you were the one. Okay.
All right.
Come on up. All right, come on
Oh,
up.
it's right here.
You have,
Sorry, it was sitting right next
you
to
got it? Okay. So we're limited to 2 minutes for each comment, so who wants to start it off?
Hi, my name is Teresa Garrick, and I'm a trustee of the Bayshore School District, and I'm currently the board president. And with me, I have Cecil Owens, our fellow trustee and icon of the Bayshore community. We come to you tonight to read a letter from our board. Dear City Council members, as you are all aware, our school district has embarked on a big vision. A vision to build a state-of-the-art 21st century school to replace our old 1940s era facilities. To accomplish this, our community has already supported us with a $6 million bond election that passed at over 82%, the highest pass rate in the state. Our board has voted unanimously to support our Robertson Intermediate site and consolidate our approximately 375 students into one new school on the Bayshore site. Plans are complete for the new school and are pending the Division of State Architects approval this January. In January of this year, we submitted an application to the city for a 71-unit subdivision in an effort to generate enough funds to build our new school. We've been working with our city manager since April to develop an affordable housing plan that meets all parties' interests. Recently, the San Mateo Housing Authority has joined our efforts and have offered to enter into a tri-party agreement, city, county, school district, whereby they assume the responsibility for constructing our required affordable housing within the Midway Village in exchange for our half-acre Midway site, as they begin their process of revitalizing this area of our community. Deal points have been prepared between our district and county to make this a win-win for our community. These deal points have been provided to our city manager and city attorney.
Okay. You want to wrap it up?
We just want to encourage your we just encourage your support to our community. Through this great opportunity, this will bring a new school, 71 new families, plus 18 new affordable housing units to our city. Time is of the essence, as our application is on hold by the city manager until she accepts this great affordable housing solution offered to the city by both the county and our district.
Okay.
We really appreciate your support.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you
Owens?
for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can talk to our city manager later about it. She knows all about it, I'm sure. Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor and members of the council, since this issue has been raised, let me just take a minute to clarify. The city manager is not holding up the process here. I have received an affordable housing plan that we are negotiating with the school district. The school district is responsible for the affordable housing plan. They have offered a alternative proposal to meet the affordable housing requirements of a fully market rate housing development that would be built on the former Robertson Middle School property. We have entered into some preliminary discussions with the San Mateo County Housing Authority via Supervisor Adrian Tissier, who sort of brought the parties together. So we are trying to meet the requirements of our local housing ordinance, as well as to address the state's affordable housing requirement for the school district, which is different and actually more onerous than our own local housing ordinance. And we're trying to do that within a feasible time frame. So all of the pieces are kind of moving parts, but we are negotiating those. The city attorney and I have received a copy of a proposed agreement that would allow the elementary school district's housing responsibility to be transferred to the County of San Mateo's Housing Authority on a different location than the housing development site. All of those alternatives are different than what the law currently requires. And so there is quite a bit of negotiation back and forth. It's not a simple solution. It is not one that I have the authority to withhold the right to use an alternative as long as it meets all of the necessary legal requirements. And so we are, in fact, reviewing that. We have, within the last month, received that document. So the discussions that have been going on since January have not been around this latest alternative. It's been around other issues related to this development. So we're moving forward in a timely way, and hopefully there will be some sort of agreement that can be worked out. But that will ultimately be brought to the council to determine whether or not the deal points of such an agreement meet the letter as well as the spirit of our local housing requirements, affordable housing requirements.
Mr. Cannon,
I have a
go ahead.
question. So they have a parcel of land, correct? And they want to develop that land. And then what's the other component outside of that? Is that
So-
with the proceeds are going to go to fund the new school,
So,
correct?
right, so it's several different parts
Okay.
in what is currently under consideration. The initial proposal was to sell off the Robertson Middle School site and to build a market rate, single-family housing development. Our local housing ordinance requires that as part of that market rate project, that affordable units be included in that development. The school district is trying to maximize the value of their property, and therefore they don't want the affordable units built in the market rate site. They want the affordable units to be built as a separate development at a different location. So therein rests the first obstacle that we have been spending a number of months trying to grapple with, because basically the housing ordinance requires that the affordable units be built with the market rate units. And in fact, we believe philosophically that integrating affordable units with market rate units rather than isolating them as a single affordable housing project is a much better social enterprise for what we want to accomplish. But nevertheless, we've recognized the intention of the district in doing this was to maximize the sales value of the Robertson site and use that to fund the new school. The affordable housing site would be built, the affordable units would be built on a separate parcel of land that actually is contained within the San Mateo County Housing Authority property at Midway Village. They own a parcel of land there that they could build the affordable units in, which is adjacent to the Bayshore Child Care Facility. The problem is trying to reconcile building affordable housing at a separate location from a project that is required to have the affordable units on site.
Is it possible to do, you think, or is it, I mean, because the reason I'm saying there's a deadline. They're trying to build a new school.
I understand that. And so we've looked at it. There is a possibility. The problem arises from the fact that we, to date, have not been provided with any specific timeline for those affordable units being developed. So even if we were to accept the proposal, the market rate housing would be built immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But the affordable units would be built someday in the future.
Gotta be soon.
Date uncertain. And even though the County of San Mateo their housing authority has now been engaged in this discussion that they might be willing to take on the responsibility for developing those affordable units, the timeline for the county to do that is being left open-ended. And therein lies the problem that we're having in trying to provide some certainty about when those affordable units would be built. The fact that they might be built at a separate location, that's a problem as well. But we might be able to work through that issue if we were given some level of certainty when those affordable units would be built. So that's the point at which we find ourselves in negotiating between the school district and the county how this can go forward as an acceptable alternative to the affordable housing required for the development of those market rate units.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And if I'm not mistaken, Robertson is on the hill at Midway Village is just,
Down below.
across the street. It's across the street, so it's not like it's in a totally different part of town. It's just down the hill a couple of steps.
No, the geographic location is not the issue.
Right.
The issue is two separate projects, one with a very specific set of timelines and one with an open-ended set of timelines.
Well, I certainly hope that the school district, the county, and the city can work together to guarantee that affordable housing as quickly as possible.
Well, we have been trying to move in that
Excellent.
direction.
Thank you much for all your efforts.
You know, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think in my old age, I'm getting used to just saying what's on my mind. But, you know, I'm a little disturbed about this, and I'll tell you why. We try to teach our kids how important it is for inclusion. To hear that you want to separate affordable housing from regular housing disturbs me. And I'm not trying to imply that you have any ill will behind it, but it's sort of the message we're sending that affordable people are down there and we're all up here. And again, that may not be your intention. I would think that it's not your intention, but it's the message we're sending. And it's a certain civic, social consciousness that we're developing in this community that I can just see now. Tomorrow we'll have the ceremony guys come back saying, guess what? We've decided to build the 54 units on the other side of the block. It's just around the corner, but we're going to put them over there. You know, it's again, don't take this the wrong way, please. I'm not trying to disparage it, but it concerns me, and I don't know if there's enough thought to give to maybe address that to the community that's going to ask, why not include us in the same building or include everybody else? I mean, if there's a message around that, great. If you haven't thought about it, I suggest you start thinking about it, because I know when it starts getting built, people are going to ask me, well, why did you approve that? Why did you put the affordables over there and left everybody else here? And maybe that's a discussion not for today, but at some point, we're going to have that discussion. And it just concerns me on a different level.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, and the profit from that is to build the school in a community that's
I totally
very
get
low
it,
income.
but it just,
Yeah, I know.
I'm a little
It's
uncomfortable with the message we're sending,
Yep.
that we're going to separate this.
You know, Sal, I just want to say, I know these folks, that's not their intent.
Oh, of
What
course.
I'm
I
saying-
know
what-
that's
what-
not-
what I'm saying is, the property that they're referring to is Midway. Midway is just right across the, I'm just saying, it's right across the street.
Totally get
So I
that.
think it's totally, I don't think you're inferring that at all. It's not ill-intentioned, they're well-intentioned. I think what their goal is try to make sure that they have the best school for their students. And I think they'll take that feedback that you get and probably message a little bit better next time, so.
All right, let's move on. I have no other speaker cards, but under oral communications, I'm going to turn it over to Annette Hipona, our clerk. She has an announcement.
Again, I'd just like to remind that the audience and the folks here that we have a November 3rd election. They consider it historic all-mail ballot election, and you can return your ballot here in City Hall or in the postage paid envelope if you like by Election Day. Thank you.
Is there a, by the way, is there a cutoff date that we have to do, or is it, we just gonna get a ballot? I got something in the mail already, but like before, people had to mail in ballots. They had to submit something by a date certain before they could be allowed. That's not applicable anymore, right?
They accept ballots to approximately 2 days after, I believe, after the election.
Okay.
But it has to be postmarked.
But it has to be postmarked.
I'm getting flagged that there was a gentleman who had another card. You have a public comment or a specific item on the agenda? Specific item. Yeah, I think, what's your name, Richard? Richard. Yeah, you're on item number 15. We're not there yet. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, let me go to item number 12, which is the amendment chapter 12.36 of the Daly City Municipal Code regarding park hours and prohibited acts. Who's up for this?
I didn't get the prohibited
guys?
acts.
I was just trying to see if I could find my director, but I'm not sure where he is.
You're on your own.
I'm on my own.
All right.
You'll be fine, I'm sure.
Yeah. She'll do fine.
There he is.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. As you recall, we have been updating our municipal code with the goal to create a standard sign for all city parks. The item that we're bringing to you tonight is so that we can update the park hours. We have visited other agencies here in the peninsula, and we are trying to stay consistent with the hours that they have. The change that we are recommending is to have park hours from sunrise to sunset.
Perfect.
And this will take into consideration also that during daylight, we want to make sure that we don't have people, being at the park in the dark, there's no line. So that's the recommendation pretty much that we're making. Now, there are going to be some exceptions, and one of the exceptions would be that we would have the lights, or we would allow people to stay in the parking lot area whenever we have an activity that is sponsored by the city. So let's say we have a community building or the libraries, that are going to be open past, after the sun goes down, then we would allow them to stay there for up to an hour after the facility is closed. We have been in talks with our parks or our library and recreation director, and also with police, to make sure that this is something that they would be able to enforce. And we have all agreed that the changes that we have on the staff report, is what we move forward with. We are ready to take any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I think it's great.
Good.
Is that a motion?
It makes it very specific, and we don't have to worry about individual hours and parks having different hours.
That is correct.
Great.
I like it.
I don't have any, let me open the public hearing on this item, but I don't have any speaker cards, so let me get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the public hearing is closed. Let me get a motion for city attorney to read by title only.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Daly City amending Chapter 12.36 of the Daly City Municipal Code regarding park hours and prohibited acts.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Christensen, you spoke up first. You want to introduce the ordinance?
Absolutely. Love our city parks.
Okay. Item 13, which is the update of San Mateo County's Community Choice Aggregation Initiative.
Thanks, man.
Ms. Martell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Tonight, Julie and I will be tag teaming on this report, which is an update concerning the San Mateo County Community Choice Aggregation Initiative. You may recall that several months ago, the city of Daly City was requested through my office to provide access to our PG&E bills in order to help facilitate a study about whether or not we could implement a community choice aggregation program in San Mateo County. All the cities were asked for this kind of information, which would basically allow us, as cities and the county, to aggregate or join together our collective buying power for all individual customers, both residential and as well as the city, in order to secure electrical energy and alternative forms of electric power through a variety of different alternative energy supply contracts. You may recall a number of years ago when I was working at the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, we actually had a vote in San Francisco about community choice aggregation. We did not, this was early 2000s, we did not at that point do that in San Francisco because of the costs involved and a whole variety of other things related to rebuilding the water system. But this has been an idea that has been floating around both in San Francisco and in the county for some time. As I understand it, San Francisco is also resurrecting this idea for their residents as well. But it has been actually very successfully implemented in California, and there are 3 different programs that currently exist. One, the Marin Clean Energy Program, the Sonoma Clean Power Program, both of those are in the North Bay, and the Lancaster Choice Energy, which is down in Southern California. Over a period of several months, as the idea of community choice aggregation has been reviewed in an extensive study that relies on all of the energy information that was received from the cities, the county has been taking the lead in conducting a number of meetings that involve representatives from every city in the county. Julie and I have both attended those meetings on behalf of Daly City to hear the experiences of others who have been involved in community choice aggregation. So there have actually been representatives at our regular meetings on this topic from both Marin Clean Energy and Sonoma Clean Power. And they've essentially shared with all the representatives who have attended the community choice energy meetings about their own experiences in their jurisdictions and how it has worked, some of the challenges that they face, but overall the success that they believe has occurred in those programs, and the benefits that have been provided to residents of those respective jurisdictions that essentially has lowered the cost for energy and has provided a more green and more environmentally sound alternative to providing power to residents. So why would we even want to consider community choice aggregation? Well, first of all, I think it addresses one of the primary goals of our climate action plan by helping to reduce greenhouse gases. And that's one of the overarching reasons. The second reason is greater local control. So people actually get to decide who their power provider is going to be, and they have some choice. You know, there have been, over the years, many complaints by residents that PG&E has monopoly, and therefore there is no opportunity to see if there is a more environmentally sound alternative and one that is less costly to ratepayers. This provides the opportunity for us to examine that more closely, and to the extent that the recently completed study indicates that we are throughout the county in the enviable position where we could, in fact, achieve some of the benefits that are being realized in Marin and Sonoma in those two community choice aggregation programs. The most important part for our ratepayers is that they have a choice, and everybody likes to have a choice. People like to compare. But even if we were to go forward with a community choice aggregation program in the future, and we're going to talk in more detail about the specifics of how that would work, entering into that kind of a program does not bind a ratepayer forever. You can choose to be a part of it, and you can choose to opt out of it at a future date if you feel that it's not meeting your needs, if you feel like it's not as competitive, whatever the reason. You're not bound to stay in the community choice aggregation program, even if you start at the very beginning. And if you decide at the beginning you don't want to be a part of it, and you decide at a later date that you do want to be a part of it because you're hearing from your neighbors and others that it is a very cost-effective alternative, you always will have that option moving forward. The community choice aggregation program, if it's implemented, will also create jobs. And in this county, we're all about creating new jobs and creating a more vibrant economy. And this is an economy that would benefit from alternative energy sources. So that's an added bonus to the possibility of moving forward with community choice aggregation. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Julie, and she's going to talk a little bit about how community choice aggregation would actually work if you were a customer of such a program.
So if you're a customer of a CCA, you really don't experience any change at all. In fact, your utility bill is your PG&E bill. It's the same exact bill. They continue to provide customer service. They continue to provide, obviously, distribution, line maintenance. You will see a line item on the bill, and I'll show you that in a second, where it shows a charge, but it, again, is on the same exact bill. In addition, under a CCA model, every customer actually is by default in the CCA. So if the council so chooses to participate, every one of PG&E customers in Daly City would actually become a customer of the CCA. However, customers will have multiple notices around this effort. In case they decide they want to opt out, they can do that. So the default is they're in, but if they prefer PG&E, they can stay with PG&E. So a customer would see...
That's for no cost, the opting out in the 120 days.
I'm going to have...
That's true, yeah.
Yes,
I
but
know.
some of those details are really our technical experts from the county can answer, but that's right. Basically, customers that want to stay with PG&E can stay with PG&E. So.
How easy it is to opt out, or difficult is it to opt out?
It's
Simple
easy.
contact.
It's right. I mean, you're notifying PG&E, or I believe PG&E, but again, the county will help answer some of those more detailed questions. It's really easy. And as you can see on this particular sample bill, it looks like your regular bill. It looks like it's coming from PG&E, but as you can see, this is Marin County. Theirs actually identifies this is the electric generation charge for the CCA. Sorry. I'm going too fast. Sorry about that. Okay, so just to kind of bring you up to speed, As Pat already mentioned, the county reached out to all 20 cities to see if there was interest, and there was a great deal of interest in participating. So starting in the beginning of 2015, cities provided the loads, the PG&E loads to the county so they could begin their technical study. The advisory committee came together, and we've been participating in that. The technical feasibility study was released last month, and so now cities are reviewing those JPA documents, ordinances, resolutions. So we're in really, I would consider this in a review, evaluation, due diligence phase. The technical feasibility study included, as Pat said, all 20 cities as well as the county. It was a 10-year study period. They used 2 years of historical power data. They studied 3 scenarios, kind of the bookends. So if you went with 35% renewable energy all the way to 100% renewable energy, what would that look like? They also assumed in these scenarios a 75 to 85% customer participation. So they're being conservative and assuming, okay, there could be as much as 25% opting out. They looked at 6 sensitivities. Obviously, the CCA would be going out to purchase energy on the market, so they looked at those. They looked at PG&E generation rates, exit fees, and opt-out rates. And again, I think in the study, they tried very much to be pretty conservative when they looked at those. Just a note, program enhancements do increase costs, so that is a trade-off. We talked a lot about that in the advisory committee. So in other words, if you provide net energy metering for those who have solar panels, that's a cost, but it might be worth it. So that is something that should the CCA move forward, the new board of directors would sort that out and figure out what would be best for the CCA. And also in the study, reserves were built into the actual rate. And at this time, if I could ask our county representatives, Jim Eggmeyer, who is the Director of Office of Sustainability, and Sean Marshall is the consultant. She is with Lean Energy US. She's been working with us full-time on this. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Jim, did you want to kick off?
Go
ahead. Okay. Thank you very much for having me down here. It's good to see some of you. I should, full disclosure, say that my history with this, I'm currently with Lean Energy US. We provide assistance to municipalities around the state and around the country to teach and guide around how to get these programs up and running. But my history goes back to the city of Mill Valley, where I was a sitting city council member. I remember meeting a couple of you at a League of Cities event. And I was on the council from 2005 to 2013 when we actually launched Marin Clean Energy. I served on the task force when the idea was this big, and then we ultimately launched, and then Lean Energy spun off from that as a nonprofit assistance organization. So that's my history with the work that we're doing here tonight. I want to just clarify a couple of items that were asked, and also one of the items on the previous slide. So you are correct, council member, that there is no cost to opt out of the program during the 120-day opt-out period. There can be a small administrative fee to opt out of the program thereafter if the CCA program chooses to do that. In Marin, it's $5 for a residential account, $25 for a commercial account. In Sonoma, they decided not to do any kind of exit fee at all. So that's a policy decision that the Board of Peninsula Clean Energy would make going forward. Opt-out methods, it is easy. So you have websites, you can opt out either online, by telephone, or by snail mail, depending on what the customer wants to do at any time, as stated. On the previous slide, you mentioned that the program enhancements like net energy metering, it do increase costs. So it is true on the one hand that if you want to have those kinds of programs, you have to bake it into your pro forma analysis and all of that. But one of the things that I think is important to note is that in both Marin and Sonoma, the net energy metering programs are actually more beneficial to the customer because they've priced it in such a way that the credits that are received by that net metered customer are actually greater than what is offered by PG&E, and there's a cash payout rather than just a zero-sum credit at the end of the year. So both boards of directors have been very mindful that they want to actually incentivize net energy metering, and thus they have made it a program that is actually more beneficial to the solar customers. So I think that's just an important clarification. So I'm going to just cover a couple of slides that were produced by the technical consultants. We are not the technical consultants, that is Pacific Energy Advisors. So I'm here to just give the summary of the great work that they did. What you see here on the left is a geographic distribution of the county's electrical load. And on the right, a geographic distribution of the customers, your residents, your businesses, and all of that. The cities with the largest load include Daly City, Menlo Park, San Mateo, South San Francisco, and Redwood City. There's a pretty close match because the cities with the greatest number of customers are the unincorporated county, South San Francisco, Redwood City, Daly City, and San Mateo. And so the top 5 cities account for almost 60% of the total load of Peninsula Clean Energy and 55% of PCE's customers' accounts. It might be worth noting that when Marin launched its program, we had, I think it was 5 out of the 11, plus the unincorporated county that chose to form the initial JPA, and then within a year, all of the rest of the cities came on board. The same thing happened in Sonoma, but at a slightly accelerated pace. And so I believe that the county anticipates something similar here, where there will be certain cities that come on board as first adopters, and then several others that might join in future years. Next slide. This slide just shows basically a quick comparison of the current electrical resource mix in 2014. It's just showing PG&E's current mix versus the average mix in the state of California generally. I think the numbers to highlight here, because it's going to translate into what we're going to show you for PCE. The first is Pacific Gas and Electric is at 27% renewable energy in the calendar year 2014. It uses 24% natural gas and 21% nuclear power. It does better, frankly, in many categories than the California average. So we got to stop here and give PG&E credit, and then, you know, talk about how Peninsula Clean Energy can improve upon the status quo. Next slide. So the technical study looked at 3 supply scenarios with a couple of just underlying assumptions that are important to point out. The first of which is that unbundled renewable energy credits are excluded from all these scenarios. I'm not going to go into a real detailed rationale about what unbundled credits are, but essentially they are losing compliance credit in the state of California. They create a lot of consternation with many folks who just do not see their value, and so frankly it was just as easy to take them off the table, and so PCE made that decision within this scenario to just exclude it from the mathematics and the analysis. Also, Peninsula Clean Energy will be coal-free and nuclear-free, and that is quite important to some folks. So the 3 scenarios that they looked at were a baseline 35% minimum renewable energy content at launch, which potentially is 2016, late 2016, scaling up to 50% by 2030, a midline scenario starting at 50% renewable energy, scaling to 75% by 2030, and then scenario 3, 100% renewable energy, which obviously has the greatest environmental impacts all the way around. So right now, next slide, if you will, I'll just tell you what those sort of yielded here. I'm not going to walk through all of this tiny detail for you, but to say that within these 3 scenarios, from a rate competitive perspective, scenario 1 obviously came back the most competitive because it does have the lowest amount of renewable power. It also did not score well on GHG reductions, because remember that Peninsula Clean Energy won't have nuclear power in the mix. PG&E does, And so it ended up being kind of a non-starter from the ability to reduce greenhouse gases because of that nuclear difference there. Under scenario 1, the projected monthly decrease is around $5.40 for the average residential customer. In the midline scenario, an average of $4.05. And in scenario 3, which remember is the 100% product, there would be a cost premium of about 2% or $1.80 per month should a customer choose that option. It's worth stopping here to say that it's likely that Peninsula Clean Energy will follow in the footsteps of the other CCAs and could choose to offer a 100% clean power product as a voluntary opt-up. So it would not be the default product that customers are enrolled in. We've yet to meet an elected official that wants to hoist a price premium on any of their customers. In fact, it's important to save a little money here. Assumed participation rates. In scenarios 1 and scenarios 2, there is an assumed participation rate of 85% or 15% opt-out. Worth noting that Sonoma Clean Power has a 9% opt-out rate. Marin Clean Energy has around a 20% opt-out rate. That has dropped since the program has expanded into the East Bay. As far as comparative GHG emissions, in scenario 1, the GHGs actually go up, as I mentioned to you before, because we don't have that nuclear power quote-unquote credit comparator. It actually goes up by 136,000 metric tons, which pretty much means that right now scenario 1 is a non-starter. Scenario 2, you get a reduction of 75,000 metric tons in year 1, and scenario 3, 130,000 metric tons in year 1. The county has not made, and the advisory committee, I should say, has not made a recommendation as yet where that default product will land, whether it'll be 50% or 60%, or there's some dial turning that's happening right now going forward, but probably somewhere around that scenario 2. Last slide, please. This is just a quick delineation of the risks and uncertainties that are present, frankly, with any CCA program that chooses to launch. The good news is that many of these issues have been mitigated through the performance of the existing programs, but I'll just be quick here. The first of which is PG&E rate uncertainty. Nobody knows for sure what PG&E will choose to do in any given year. What we do know is that PG&E is dropping its generation rates in 2016, and the exit fees are going up, which makes that bogey a little harder to meet. And yet, we still think, given even with all of that and adding on the costs and the reserves and everything, that we can come in slightly below PG&E at that midline. Another risk and uncertainty is the length of the current wholesale energy price trough. It's very good right now, and looks to be good for the foreseeable future in terms of wholesale power prices. Availability of large hydro resources. This one's critical because we're in the middle of a drought, and large hydro is in large part why Sonoma Clean Power has just doubled and tripled down on its GHG reductions at a very affordable price. They locked in large hydro and a large percentage of it early on.
Yeah.
We don't know what that's going to look like going forward. Bring on El Nino, please. Opt-out rate uncertainty, we feel that we have projected a 15% opt-out, which seems conservative given current opt-out rates. Overall program size, given participation of specific jurisdictions. This is not really a risk, it's more of an uncertainty. The uncertainty is that, what you want to have happen is as many customers as possible to basically share your flat fixed fee costs. So the more customers you have in the program, the more advantageous it is for all of the customers in the program in terms of translation to rates. Credit structure is an issue that the county is working on right now. At the end of the day, the JPA will require operating capital and will require fairly significant credit in order to sign a power contract in order to begin service to customers. All of that happens several months prior to revenues coming through the door. So you've got this little bit of a bridge financing issue. Good news is we've got some experience now for how to deal with it, and the county's already working on this issue. Future specific CCA legislation, you got to watch your ducks, not only in Sacramento, but at the California Public Utilities Commission. it's a slog. I'm not going to lie about that. It's, you know, it hasn't been easy, but we have been successful in every major legislative and regulatory proceeding over the last 5 years. Sorry, one more slide.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Yes, sir.
Is there any pending or anticipated legislation that you think could be adverse to this?
No, not this coming legislative season, but you don't know, right? Because the deadline's February of each year. But we came through AB 2145 last year, which would have been a poison pill to the program. That died, and then in this previous session, we were dealing with SB 350 and a couple of others, amendments and some issues, and we managed to push those back. So the good news is that CCA is now recognized as a legitimate opportunity, and the state legislature is beginning to see the results of the environmental benefits. Okay, so these are the key findings and conclusions. We've kind of covered some of this, but scenario 1 highlights the most economically beneficial opportunity. It does not do well on the environmental double bottom line there. Scenario 2 highlights program viability on both a renewable and GHG content basis with competitive rates, currently projected to be about 4% below PG&E. Scenario 3 highlights a rate premium under the greenest that you can get. I will tell you that I am a deep green customer in Marin. I have an average size home. My average bill is about $2.50 more per month to get 100% renewable product at my home. So I don't see that it's a big issue. Marin did just launch a new product called Local Sol. It's a new local solar project, community solar, that customers can opt up to for a much bigger premium, but it's a set price for 20 years. And it's a program or a project that's based in Novato. So people are really into that local thing. There is another option now being offered to customers. So the answer is there's no correct answer. It's still being looked at the advisory committee. The advisory committee has been super and really engaged, and we want to just appreciate your representative to the committee. So far, it's been going great. Want me to do that? You want to do that? Okay. Super. So the county also, Gordon Tong and staff, developed a program guide which kind of puts into plain English some of the stuff we've just talked about here tonight and reviews what the different scenarios are and what the options are for the program. So we'll pass these out. And I'll stop there. And Jim, anything you want to add?
No, I'd just like to thank you very much for the time this evening, and if there's anything we can help staff with, we'll be happy to reach out, however we may be able to.
Any questions? Mr. Canepa?
I do have a question. Has there, and it's directed to Sean, can you talk to me a little bit about the risk in doing this, and have these CCA agreements been done throughout the United States, and have there been, we've heard about all the success stories. Have there been any unsuccessful stories?
Sure. It's important to understand first, before answering that question, that there are different types of energy markets. So in California, we are a generally regulated energy market, and the CCA proposition here is about taking a wholesale commodity and turning it into a retail product. And so what you're really looking at is what's the delta between those two things, and can you thread the needle and still achieve all of your objectives and save your customers money? The other reason that it's a different proposition is that it's a long-term scenario. So Marin now has several, I think about 20 different power contracts ranging in length from 3 years to 25 years. They're now starting to build local generation. There's a solar project going in over in Richmond and all of that. So it's a model that is similar to that which is used in Massachusetts.
Got it. Why didn't it work in Chicago?
Bingo. Then you go to the middle of the country. And those states, Ohio, Illinois, New Jersey, those are retail energy states. So you're already competing on the retail power market, and those contracts are really short. So what we talk to communities about is that if you only have a single bottom line, and that bottom line is about beating the incumbent utility at their own game on price, the power market fluctuates like that. So they didn't have any other sort of value add proposition. So the minute that they went above the ComEd price, they had already expired their 2-year contract, so they decided to switch back to ComEd. interesting to note that they're now looking at going back into an aggregation contract because the forward pricing looks better now for aggregation. So what you see in retail states is a lot of switching because customers can switch back and forth, and so can municipalities. So it's called the same thing, but it's structured quite differently.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
So what's next? Well, right now, the cities are reviewing a draft joint powers agreement and the various ordinances and resolutions that would be required, and determine who would be a member of the Joint Powers Authority that would govern a community choice aggregation program. They've established the deadline for early next year to make a determination on all of these things. Then we need to proceed with a great deal of outreach to the community to help them understand what we have shared with you today. And, you know, hopefully this kind of material sort of gives you a clearer sense of what would be communicated to the public, but they really need to know the ins and outs and what it means to them as ratepayers. So we would be providing that kind of information to them in advance of any change occurring. There would be the board of directors would be formed, which would be made up most likely, given its the nature of a joint powers authority, it would be an elected representative from each of the agencies that are part of the program, which I assume will be all the cities. And then a plan to actually present to the State Public Utility Commission to review, which is the implementation plan, how this would be conducted, who are all the parties to it, and all the various details. The CPUC then would review that and make a final determination on that. And at that point, then RFPs would be prepared to source the energy, the alternative energy sources that would result in the contracts that would be entered into by the community choice aggregation program under the direction of the governing board, which would be the board of directors. And a new executive director of this agency would be hired to oversee the day-to-day operations of the program.
Ask your opinion. Now, Pat, you've been at the forefront of a lot of these kind of consolidation efforts for things like the delivery of fire services and things of that nature. Do you believe that this is something that is a trend in aggregating resources and then being able to be socially responsible and being able to choose what those resources are?
I do think it is at the forefront. I think that it provides the most viable means by which all the cities in the county in San Mateo can really make a huge impact on the environment by reducing greenhouse gases and looking at more environmentally sound energy sources. At the present time, and I don't know if there's a PG&E rep here tonight, but I would make the comment that PG&E really doesn't have a real incentive to look at environmentally more sound alternatives. And an organization like this, an entity like this, certainly does. And I think that over time, throughout the county, we've seen the expansion of climate action plans among all the cities. We're in the process when we hire our new sustainability coordinator to really focus on our own climate action plan. And all of this will figure into that. We all have a responsibility to do as much as we can to reduce the environmental impact of greenhouse gases for us today and for our children and our grandchildren and their children. So I think that this is a sound means. We have some very reliable data that shows that it can work effectively. I think that in a technology-driven environment like we have here in San Mateo County and Silicon Valley, I mean, it makes sense. It's the next step towards really using the ability that we have to seize more control over our lives, our destiny, and clearly our environment.
Great. So, and you don't see do you see any glaring downside to this at all? They've identified all the risks. I see all those risks. I mean, do you see anything that has been identified as a possible?
No, I think that the study has done a very thorough job of identifying all the potential issues, the upside and the downside. And I think like with all things that we do in government, we take risks, we take calculated risks. And I think that we've taken the steps through this process to date to ensure that our calculated risk is something that, you know, we can recommend to you as being something that is worth the potential benefits.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
your comments.
I can't wait to have my 100% renewable energy. I don't know, I'm thinking when that option comes around, I mean, you know, we need to get out there and talk to our neighbors. When I first went to some of these workshops, they were talking about the different communities. And then they brought up Richmond, California. And they had a really high percentage of people that went for the 100% and were willing to pay a little bit extra. And I thought, Richmond, that's kind of a community like us. It's, well, you know, we're not like Marin, but Richmond's got working people. And I thought, all right, we can do this.
Good.
Okay, thank you. That was for information purposes only. There's no recommended action on that item. Item number 14, which is the minor subdivision and design review regarding a 3-lot subdivision at 27 LaSwain Avenue. Mr. Von Luckatz.
I have to tell you, I read this 3 times and I couldn't figure out how many actual houses are going to be built. We're dividing 10 into 3 and 3 into 10 anyway. So you'll need to do that right up front.
Is the projector not working? Uh-oh. I like the graphic. Huh?
We'll have to wing it. Right.
Okay.
The old-fashioned way. Look at the pictures.
Well, see, those of us who brought our things, we've got our little things right here. There it is.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is an application for a, get the right staff report. 3-lot subdivision at 27 Lausanne. This is at the north end of Lausanne. The answer to Councilmember Christensen's question is there's actually 2 houses that are proposed. This subdivision actually has some history with the city staff. Going back initially, there was a proposal to eliminate the cul-de-sac in its entirety that exists at that location. For any of the council members who have been there, there's an existing cul-de-sac, and the applicants proposed to eliminate that cul-de-sac and replace it with 2 new houses. The construction of those houses would be very similar to the houses that are existing just to the south of that location, where there were 10 houses previously constructed by the same gentleman who's proposing the subdivision tonight. So at issue previously was that the cul-de-sac would be completely eliminated. There was some disagreement about whether the city had made an initial promise back when the initial 10 lot subdivision was installed and approved as to whether that could occur. As it turns out, the map that was recorded granted an irrevocable easement to the city. But since that time, since the initial submittal, that is, the city staff has come to an agreement with the applicant, and there has been some agreement as to what sort of a cul-de-sac would be installed in lieu of the existing cul-de-sac that's there. Essentially, it's a smaller cul-de-sac as shown in the site plans. And it's not a cul-de-sac at all. In fact, there's a private street that would be constructed as part of KB Homes, and that was part of the initial concern, is that private street is to be gated off by KB Homes as part of the subdivision, the Wellington Heights subdivision there. So the city staff just wanted to make sure that there was enough turnaround space for delivery vehicles and things like this. Fire apparatus are going to be able to continue through because they have a Knox box type of key system, which would allow them to continue. So at any rate, the major issues have been worked out. There have been some conditions of approval placed on both the design review of the houses that are to be constructed, as well as the subdivision. The applicant's amenable to those. The applicant and the property owner are here tonight and can answer any questions the council members have, as can the staff.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Can you tell me how many rooms are being proposed for each house?
The applicant could probably answer that best. It may be even outlined in the staff report. I don't recall.
Mr. Beaumont?
Mr. Beaumont.
Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. You were inquiring as to the number of bedrooms inside the new homes. Is that what you were asking about? There would be 4 bedrooms for each of the 2 homes, and Councilmember Christensen, there are 2 new homes that are being proposed. Oh, good. Our side is
Didn't
wonderful.
hear what you said.
There are 2 houses being proposed as part
Right.
of this.
Mhm.
Oh,
2 4-bedroom.
And on the bedroom count?
4 bedrooms per each of the
Each
2
one,
homes.
okay.
Any other questions?
How many parking spots within the
So
the
there are a
houses?
grand total of 5 off-site parking spaces for each of the homes. 3 in the garage, in 3 separate garages, which is very unusual for Daly City,
Mhm.
and then 2 in driveways. So a grand total of 5 off-street. So a grand total of 10 for the 2 houses.
That's pretty good. So for 2 houses, you have 10 parking.
10 parking spaces, correct.
It's
I'd
a
like
4.
to
It's a.
see that at
it's-
every
it's-
house.
It's a 4-bedroom, and it's not a 5-bedroom.
It is not a 5-bedroom, and there is no separate ingress to the lower story as required under DC
Thank you.
building code to prevent that from happening.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, those were the 2.
Any other questions? Did you want to highlight anything in your presentation?
No, if anything, we were going to just talk about that. So the previous slide showed the larger, the cul-de-sac that exists today. The road will be punched through at this location. So the applicant's proposed site plan is shown here. It's basically been revised to a turnaround. There are some conditions of approval related to relocating some of the utilities in the center of that turnaround. And then there are, again, to answer Councilmember Christensen's question, there are 2 new proposed homes, each again having, as the applicant indicated, 5 parking spaces each, 3 in the garage, 2 in the driveway. There are conditions of approval related to extending the pedestrian sidewalk that exists on the
So
west
they're
side
not
of the street.
off-street, they're not off-site. There's
Yeah.
3 in the garage and
There's-
2 on the property.
There's 3 in the garage and 2 in the
I misunderstood.
driveway.
I thought he meant
Driveway.
off the street. I was like, how do you get 10?
Well, they're all off the street.
Well, I'm
They-
sorry, I misspoke. I meant on the street. I thought I heard you say that, Mr. Bowman. I thought I heard you say on the street. I was like,
There are 5
how did you get 10 on the street? I wondered something. When I looked at you like, how did you get 10?
On the
Okay, now I
property,
get it. Sorry.
each property.
Little
is
slow.
Completely
All
off
right.
city
I get it.
property.
That makes sense.
All right, any other questions? No? Is there a motion? I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
I was just going to inform the council that this completes the original vision of the developer. These 2 lots were actually part of the original plan, and this was considered the last half-decade or so as an interstitial between, or until such time as the KB Wellington site, which is just to the, there we go, just to the north of that came, which it was understood that that was going to be developed. And now that that's underway right now, this completes the original end of the street. So this was long planned before this juncture.
Make motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Canepa.
Aye.
Mr. Gangona,
Aye.
Mr. Torres,
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura.
Aye. All right, thank you very much, everybody, on that item. Let me go on to item number 15, which is the use permit of the daycare center at 300 Crocker Avenue. Mr. Persicone.
Last time it wasn't on, so I'm just making sure. Good evening, City Council. My name is Guido Persconi. I'm a contract planner here with Daly City. Make this a very brief presentation. Before you tonight is a use permit at 300 Crocker within an existing church, the Golden Gate Presbyterian Church. The church has been operational since 1950, and in 2006 they received design review approval for an expansion. The applicant is seeking a conditional use permit to service 36 children, 12 infants, and 24 preschoolers. The hours of operation will be from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the daycare will be operational when the church is not using the building. This provides an aerial view of where the church is located. This provides more detail about the project site. It's predominantly within a residential neighborhood, which with a conditional use permit, you are allowed to do a daycare facility. This is an overview of the site. The primary focus of the site development review was ensuring there was adequate parking and really the safety of the children. Most of the conditions of approval 8, 9, and 12, children shall be supervised at all times. There will be barriers and gates in the play area and cushioning in terms of the gate and where the play area is located. And most importantly, there will be bollards installed, temporary bollards installed, so that if there is an errant car that somehow comes on the property, the children are protected. The project is categorically exempt from SEQA, and therefore, based on the evidence and the staff report and this testimony, staff is recommending approval of the use permit.
I have 2 speaker cards. Let me go to these gentlemen first. Let me call Angelberto Gonzalez. Angelberto Gonzalez?
I think he left.
Oh, he left? Okay.
He wrote a note on the card.
Let me see. Just want to be certain planning commission guidelines and never operate during church functions. No no funerals. I think that's what it says.
Oh, not during funerals? Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, let me go to Richard Vost. Richard Vost, I'm sorry. Richard Vost, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, I know. I was here 19 days ago or 20.
Oh.
Okay.
He's a familiar face.
So let's get going. Good evening.
Good evening.
I've been thinking about this, and it's going to be heavily congested in the mornings with the traffic. If you want to put up the graphic of the homes. Right there. Now we have Crocker Avenue coming down. There's a stop sign and then no stop sign on, there's a stop sign on, that would be Hanover. Okay, so the people are coming down from the top of the hill down, okay, going to work. So when they exit, they're supposed to drop the kids off in the parking lot. Because if you can go back where it shows what that COA, it says conditions of approval number 6. Okay, prohibit street drop-off. Okay, now where the door to the daycare would be is on Winchester. So you have, your Winchester is here. The daycare is here, the parking lot's here. It's raining. You think the people are gonna go into the parking lot, walk around, and go in? No, they're gonna, that's what the other gentleman
there
was
an entrance?
talking about last time, is that this number 6. What's gonna stop them from doing that on bad weather?
Can you put up the pictures so we can be actually looking at what he's talking about? Well, the
Okay, see
actual
Winchester? Oh, no, go back, the one you had before.
plot plan is better.
Right, see where it says Winchester Street, and then it's Crocker?
I want to know how they fit.
Okay, where it says, where the W is on Winchester, that's where the entrance is to the daycare, or the lower part of the church, okay?
Is that the entrance to the parking lot?
No, that's on the other side, that's on
Right.
Crocker. That's what I'm saying,
I thought
see?
there were other things
They
says
want
there's an
the people to
entrance from the
drop the
parking
children
lot
off
side.
in the parking lot.
Okay.
And I'm saying in bad weather, they're gonna be on the other side.
All right.
That's what number 6 was about,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you, Mr. Voss. I appreciate.
Just one other quick
Yeah.
question, just one more thing, because I was thinking about, they're gonna have to make they have a stop sign there now to leave the parking lot, but it should be a right turn only. To stop
Coming
them
out.
from cutting the traffic coming down the hill going to work.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Question.
Thank you.
When I looked at the site plan drawing, but maybe this one's even better, there is a door to enter, and the handicap accessible entrance is right here on the parking lot. Yeah, so parents, I'm assuming, would
Oh,
drive
okay.
into the parking lot. The children would be let off right at that door, and that there would be school staff there to welcome the children. They usually, because it's a daycare center, you have to sign kids in, sign them out at the end of the day. My question is, how are they going to manage the traffic getting into the lot? What is the plan for turning the cars around, and how are they getting back out? So do we have some indication as to what that's going to look like? Because they're coming in right where the stop sign is, right at the bottom, right?
That's correct. But this drive aisle width allows for two-way traffic. It's a double-loaded design, so there should be ample room for two cars to pass each other. Not sure if that's answering your question.
Well, so I just don't know what the plan is. They're going to pull into those parking spots.
Sure.
And then walk their kids to the door.
Right.
And then back out and then drive out. As long as there's staff in there that's making that happen, because.
Well, it would function the same as any other parking lot that.
Right.
But can I just dovetail on Ms. Christensen's question? Does the conditions of approval require people to come in and actually park the car
and then get out
and
with a
walk?
K-turn.
Because if it does not, it's
We
a
need to
great
put it
vision,
in
but it's
there.
not gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
just not gonna happen. It's a great vision, but I can guarantee you, unless you write it into the condition of approval,
Yeah.
they're not gonna have someone sit out there and say, please park your car first. People are gonna come in, they're gonna drop their kids off, turn around, and the people that did park are gonna be waiting for people to come out before they can turn around,
Yep.
and then they're gonna try to take a spot. It's gonna be a big mess.
It's true.
And I
So
know that
what-
because I dropped off kids
Yeah.
at daycare centers and kindergartens, and nobody ever followed the rules. Even when there were people out there with the yellow vest saying, do this, people still didn't do it. So unless you make that a condition of approval,
And we can do that.
it's not gonna happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
And so people pull into the parking spot, and then they pull out with a standard K-turn,
Good
and
luck.
that's it.
it
They
would-
can
it
hire
would
me with a
almost- It would
whistle.
almost make sense. It would almost make sense not to have people park, and rather than draw like these provisional lines,
Mm-hmm.
telling people, here's the roundabout way just mark it drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
Tatum's shaking her head like you're nuts, Sal. because
She's got kids,
I don't
too.
know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, though. I'm just saying because if somebody parks right in the middle,
Okay.
and somebody's parked right there, but somebody comes in, wants to drop off, now they're making a U-turn. And the person's trying to get out, and you have another car behind them trying to get into the spot. Now you can't get traffic through because is there an egress on the other side?
No, there's only one way in and one way out.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So,
Condition of approval.
you know, and again, I'm not suggesting that be the solution, but something akin to that, where you have some sort of flow that makes it sensical. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all.
Unless you hire somebody like me with a whistle
So
and a
is that
club.
There you go, Judith Christensen.
This is something that the city council can add as a condition of
Yeah, do you
approval.
want to make a motion?
I'm fine
Well,
with
let
that.
me,
Well-
before, is the applicant here that want to say anything about that? Yeah, come on up. You are, is it Tejada? No. Oh, Ms. Tejada?
You're not Gabrielle.
So,
Good evening.
Graciela.
so did you hear Mr. Torres's suggestion?
Well, when they were talking about how traffic is going to be in the parking lot, just want to remind you that the hour operation will be from 7 to 6, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have 20 or 10 kids drop off at the same time. We do own a family daycare center right now, and the drop-off time, it goes from 7 to 11 o'clock, depending on the requirement or what the parents are looking for. So that being said, is that, I mean, you're not gonna see 20 parents over there dropping off at the same time, so I just want
By
to
the way,
add to
how do you get a license for 36 kids? What kind of license is that? I'm just curious what Because I know that there's like limits, like only 9 and only 10, but how do you get 36?
It is. At this time, because of the footage, I've been in the orientation, I've had childcare already, as you said. But it depends on what license exactly. I don't exactly know how many the licenses will allow me to have. They'll come and measure the building. But for what I know, the space that is being rented, I can tell more or less that, 25, 30 kids. I don't exactly know the number until licensing lady comes to the site.
This is a daycare center as opposed to a residential
Exactly.
facility.
No, I get that. I understand. I was just curious because when I heard 36, I thought, that's
It's
a lot of
about
kids for one place. And
12 are infants,
you only
though.
had
They're not
four.
doing
You only had
much.
4 adults. So that's like almost 9 kids per adult. I was just curious.
Five
I guess you obviously have experience. You probably can manage that. Maybe carrying 2 babies while you're chasing after your toddler. But
I am. I've been doing it for
I can't
over
even get
20
after my 2, and they're teenagers. So.
Well, that's my field. So.
Well,
So
they said
I kind
5
of understand
staff.
what you're trying to say. Is that if you open what time at 7?
7.
Out of the 36, let's say you get 36. Say you just get 36, right? What do you think your general estimate would be about how many folks would be using the 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. drop off out of those 36?
It differed probably, I don't know, 5, 5.
Less than
7,
10, more than 10?
Less than 10, yes.
Yeah.
They come
And
at
it'll
Maybe it's not a big
times.
problem.
Yeah,
It'll be
definitely.
siblings, too.
And there's siblings.
Siblings. It
That's
won't
true.
just be one kid per car.
So yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate it. I'm just suggesting. So maybe the thing to do is we can say, let's take it up in 6 months and see how it's going, and if
The
there's a
parking.
problem,
Yeah.
because you'll probably have a better sense of 6 months data, like here's what I got so many people. Maybe then's the right place to take, maybe that's the right time to take
I
up
don't think it
whether
will
you
be
need
a
a traffic
problem.
plan.
Sorry to cut you off. I used to work in a church in San Mateo for 8 years. And so when I was a teacher, the church parking lot was on the back, just like this one,
Yeah.
and it didn't have to way out. It had one. It was wide enough. It was wider than the one we have right now. But in this one, I think we have enough space to parents, like someone member said. We have enough space for parents to come in and back up and go. They're not, the 20, not gonna come at the same time, so it's a good point to notice.
And the
And
photo
I-
on the
I've
right
seen that.
provides some idea of how
Oh,
wide
yeah, it is
this
pretty wide.
Very wide.
driveway is.
Great.
Sally, you wanna
They
make
have
a motion?
sufficiently advocated their position.
Yes.
I'll second.
You want to make a motion?
Was there any more questions?
No.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second by Mr. Canepa? Yes?
Yes, second.
Yes? Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Canepa?
Aye.
Mr. Gangona?
Aye.
Mr. Torres?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye.
Good luck.
Okay. Moving on to item number 16, which is the use permit regarding a 3-story residential duplex at 198 Miriam Street.
Before we
go
go,
ahead.
I have to recuse myself. I live within 425 feet of this location.
Okay.
It's the first time she's ever had that issue. Story, dude, Miriam Street.
Just let me know.
Oh, that's right, you're on the corner.
Okay. Okay.
Let's move this to San Diego Street.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, this is an application for a use permit and design review to construct a duplex at 198 Miriam Street. The site location is generally at the northwest corner of Parkview and Miriam Street. This photograph provides some neighborhood context looking northeast from Miriam Street to the northeast. In the foreground is actually, I believe that's a duplex building next door. Single-family homes and apartments are also present in the neighborhood. This slide shows some of the other houses in the neighborhood, 1-story, smaller construction. And this is right across the street from the project to the east. So the proposal is for 2 residential units and a single 3-story building. That's what a duplex is on a 3,550 square foot lot. The lower unit is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath. The upper unit is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. 6 parking spaces off-street are provided. There are 4 proposed inside the garage.
Michael?
And 2 in the driveway, yes.
So you just said the lower unit is 5 bedrooms, 3 baths. And
That's
the
right.
upper unit is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
That's right.
So that's a total of
8 bedrooms, 5 baths. Yep.
8 and 5.
But this zone allows duplexes subject to the use permit. So this isn't something that has never been constructed in the neighborhood. This is why there's a use permit process for it. We require more parking as the result of the additional unit. As indicated, there's 4 parking spaces inside the garage and 2 in the driveway. The architecture has been proposed to complement the style of smaller residential buildings in the neighborhood. The staff's had some concern about that, and we'll go through some of the items that we've required of the project. So this is the site plan for the proposal. So this is the ground floor plan. There are 4 parking spaces inside the garage and 2 in the driveway. The blue here is associated with the first floor. So this is all 1 unit. So the downstairs and this are all 1 unit. Again, 5 bedrooms. The city staff's had some concerns on the that the lower unit would be turned into a 3rd unit, and we don't want that. We only want a duplex, not a triplex. And so we've added a condition of approval and worked with the architect to actually make part of this area a storage room for the trash cans that would be used by the duplex occupants, thereby also cutting off this access to the unit. So you can get to the unit. There's a spiral staircase here. You can get to the unit via that, but that would be the way that you'd get from the upstairs to the downstairs. So this is a floor plan of the 2nd floor of the building, the upper floor of the lower duplex. And then the top floor, the 3rd floor, consists entirely of the upper duplex unit. So it's all 1 level. These are some street elevations showing how the duplex would look from Miriam on the bottom portion of the slide and from Parkview. Again, it's a 3-story building. The city's small residential design guidelines require a 3rd floor recess. We've done some work with the applicant to provide a different material to help the building look like it fits into the neighborhood. And that would be the lap siding material that we've added as a condition of approval. So in consideration of the use permit, we've outlined some of the things that the council can think about. Context to existing residential uses, site characteristics, utility infrastructure capability, the parking, vehicle ingress, egress, and a furtherance of housing element objectives. This is a opportunity to create a couple of units where one would have otherwise been constructed, and that's something that's important in implementing our housing element. The proposal does meet all of the city's zoning regulations. We worked closely to address some of the architectural concerns the city staff had in making sure that the building at least reflected the architectural style of the adjacent residential neighborhood. It will be a larger building, that's true. But there are, again, the incorporation of significant lap siding, the trim. We've tried to make it fit in terms of the style that it would be. We talked about these are some of the design review requirements we've added. Additional paint, corner trim, additional articulation at the rear, some bay windows to try and take away the flatness of that elevation. The project's exempt from CEQA. Planning Commission's reviewed the project and is recommending approval to the City Council. If there's any additional questions, we can answer those, and the applicant's architect is also present.
All right, any questions?
I have a couple
Go ahead.
questions. Within our rights as city council members being on the dais here, could we reduce the number of bedrooms if we chose to?
As a condition of approval, the City Council would be allowed to do that, sure. There's no reason why not.
Can you go back to the last slide? I want to talk a little bit about where you had context. Oh, no, it was the context. Let's talk about the context to existing residential.
Sure. Let's go all the way back to some of the what's in the neighborhood already.
Mm-hmm.
So the context of this neighborhood is actually mixed. It's single-family residential. There are existing duplexes nearby, as well as full-scale apartment buildings. They're smaller apartment buildings, but there are still apartment buildings in the neighborhood. So it's a mix of densities and uses. When we talk about trying to make it fit in with the context of the neighborhood, what we see in the neighborhood is the incorporation of lap siding, wood trim features, things like this that are typical of a smaller scale building.
That's where I was going, Michael.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Let's talk about the square footage in that context relative to those buildings. So you're proposing something that's 3,500 square feet, is that correct?
In total, yes.
And 3,500, what are the existing properties around that property? Are they, I'm assuming they're 3,550 square feet?
No, if you're talking about lot size.
No, what I'm talking about, Michael, I'm not talking about, this 3,550 square feet, are you referring
It's
to?
for both of them.
It's for both of them?
Yes. Yeah, that's the combined square feet.
That's the
So if you were to break that up between the lower unit and the upper unit, what would it be?
I don't know the exact distribution, but the architect may be able to give a good answer on that. But I would say probably 1,500 and 2,000 would be a good guesstimate of that. So,
I mean, one of the challenges I'm having is with the, and it's up to my, is the project applicant here?
yes.
Is this the owner of the building? Is that,
This is the project architect.
okay. And before you get up there, I just want to ask you a quick question. Does the owner plan on living in this, in one of the units?
I'm not quite sure about that.
What's your name?
Mark Cucurelli.
Go ahead. Do you want to ask any questions?
I'm just curious. So you don't know if he wants to you don't know if he wants to, where does he live now, or she live? Just curious. What city? I mean,
I'm not sure. He might be in San Francisco. He's not here tonight. I don't see him.
okay. I was just wondering if he was, I mean, I was wondering if he was gonna live on the bottom floor. It's a 5-bedroom house. He might have had a lot of children. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Doesn't express one way or the other.
Is there anything you want to tell us?
You know, we're really just maximizing the highest and best use, you know, with the lot coverage and the height limit. And, you know, we were able to get 5 bedrooms out of it for the 1 unit, so that's just kind of what's driving the design.
Okay. So here's my thoughts on this. I don't know if colleagues have other questions. I don't feel comfortable with the 5-bedroom. I can look at doing a 4-bedroom. Parking there is, is atrocious. It's horrible. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think the landlord's gonna live there. I have a feeling he's not gonna be there. And what I'm afraid of is that these units, you know, it's gonna be they're gonna probably be rentals. And the impact of having multiple cars in this area, while it's 1 bedroom, I feel comfortable 4 bedrooms. I just think it conforms best with the neighborhood. And that's where I'm at relative to the project.
Are there 5-bedroom units in that neighborhood?
It's hard to tell. There very likely are. If I had to guess, I would say there very likely are 5-bedroom units. 5-bedroom homes in the whole neighborhood. I'm sure there are. Yeah, the vast majority of the homes in that neighborhood are 2 and 3 bedrooms. But if you're asking, are there any? I'm going to say yes, there probably are.
So it would be the minority.
It would be the minority, sure.
I got a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Card.
This was a vacant lot since 2008, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the idea that this is a, okay, he had just said something about the highest and best use of this property. It is going to be is it a duplex?
It is.
Duplex, correct? And I think I'm in favor of the project in a sense that I think they've come forward. It's been vetted through you and through the other commissions. I think that because of the fact that housing is in such short supply here, that having him go back to cut 1 bedroom, I don't see the utility in that, and so I would just move forward with a motion to approve this.
I got actually a speaker card on this issue. Let me call up, unless there's other questions of this gentleman?
I'll defer to the speaker, but I have another question.
Dana Smith?
Am I allowed to speak on this if I live within 400? As a member of the public, okay.
It's only your sister that can't talk.
Say, it is quite, 5 bedrooms is pretty big. And I'm kind of, I would prefer that that we look at bedroom limits on single-family homes. I talked about that at the last meeting. And that we think, we decide on something like 4 bedrooms per unit. But one thing that's good about this is that they have really listened to the parking situation. And each unit has the 2 required parking plus the driveway parking. I have to congratulate them on that. But I want to you asked the question, how many bedrooms are usual in that neighborhood? Well, I just found out that there's a renovation on a house across the street from me on San Diego Avenue. I've been watching all kinds of construction going on, so I checked it out. And they have a permit to build 7 bedrooms plus a study. So that study is going to be another bedroom. That's going to be 8 bedrooms. This is a single-family home with the parking requirements for a single-family home. And so that is so far beyond the pale when we talk about parking and just overall density and livability, that we really, really have to get serious about looking at single-family homes and even duplexes and looking at a limitation on the number of bedrooms. And, certainly the one across from my street, 7 bedrooms plus a study, is outrageous. When the codes were made, no one anticipated something like that happening. And I think we need to go back to the codes and revise them to make it be something reasonable. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Mr. Torres,
Yeah, I
go
just
ahead.
had, my one question really is about, I think this is great that you have the 6, that the applicant has the 6 parking spaces on site, but are we allowed to make a condition of approval to require them not to use the garage for anything but parking the cars?
The zoning ordinance already
Already does
requires
that,
that.
right?
You can
Okay.
certainly add it
Wasn't
as a
sure where it was.
condition of
Okay.
approval.
That'd be great.
Any other questions? Any further discussion? Not, is there a motion? All right, I know, Mr. Gingona, you made a motion.
Yes, I move to approve the project.
Is there a
I'll
second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All right, we get a roll call, please.
Mr. Canepa?
No.
Mr. Gingona?
Aye.
Mr. Torres?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
No.
Wow. Now what?
It doesn't,
It doesn't pass? Oh, well, there it is.
So now he's gonna have to do something else with this stuff. It's ridiculous.
all right, let's go on to public appearances, oral communications. Oh, we did that, actually.
Yeah,
But
we
we
did.
have one card. I'm sorry, you weren't here, so go on up. Marion Mann, you had a speaker card. Go ahead. 2 minutes. We're done. Public appearance.
No, you're done.
Actually, I'm going to say a couple of things. I had 7 children. I had to have 5 bedrooms. I mean, come on, wake up. And also, as far as the city being so, we are really constricted. There's no space hardly. So we're going to have to build up in order for my children and my grandchildren to live in the city that I raised them in. So I'm looking at, one of the things and whatever, and you're doing this and that, and I'm not happy. People have children. I want my children to be able to live in the same city that they were raised, and I want my grandchildren to be. We have an incredibly hard housing problem right now. And if this council doesn't wake up and face the fact that we have to get all the housing we can for our residents, then I think you definitely have a problem.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mann. Let me go on to appointments, board, commission, membership, committee appointments. Mr. Torres?
Oh, yes. I want to reappoint Denise Kelly to the Park and Rec Commission.
All right, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. That appointment is approved. I also want to reappoint Teresa Perano to the Recreation Commission. I'll make that as a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. She's also approved. Let me go into reports. Item number 17, council committee reports. Any council committee reports? All right, and city council reports, any city council reports?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Last time I brought up the suggestion that we do something about, at least consider some rules for ourselves about certificates of recognition from Daly City. And we decided to put it on an agenda. I'm suggesting a January agenda so we give the staff time to gather some information for us. And I don't want them to feel rushed with holidays coming up, and if that's amenable with people, January, great.
I got something to report.
All right, Mr. Pingona, go ahead.
Make a Difference Day was Saturday, and I want to tell you that for some reason we were put on a bucket duty, right? So we had to go down there and pick stuff up. And Kai and myself were okay. So we were weighing everything that we were bringing up, right? And for one reason or another, what we seemed to find mostly were bags of dog excrement, and it's because we found 6 pounds. I mean, it was 6 pounds of dog excrement in about an hour and a half. And the only reason I mention that is because I understand there are a lot of dog owners out there that are trying to be responsible in picking up after their dogs, and I understand and appreciate that. But if you're not going to throw it away, please don't even bag it. I mean, that's all I can say is that I was out there for an hour and a half. We picked up hundreds of pounds of stuff. But some of the stuff, I mean, it seemed that everywhere I turned was a different bag. And what I did see, though, Judith, was I saw a dog that the owner had taught the dog how to carry his own stuff out. So he had it on his,
All right.
he was walking like that and walked right by us. But I just want to say, I didn't get a chance to go to the food afterwards, but I want to say that it was a great event. A lot of people came out. The coffee was hot, and we picked up a lot of stuff. There's one lady that had this a magnet, and we were picking up a lot of metal. So she was weighing everything, but it was great. Good job, everybody.
I just want to make one more comment. I want to commend staff. I want to commend Captain Hensley. Captain Hensley was out there. Great job. Julie. And it was just really incredible. We have a lot of people who work throughout the city, done a tremendous job. And it's great to see the support that our staff lent to our event. I just want to recognize them for all their great work.
Any other city council reports? Staff reports? Thank you. Okay, we are reaching the adjourn in memories. We'd like to adjourn in memory of Gisela Kish, who is delivery clerk for the Daly City Fire Department for many years. We'd also like to adjourn in memory of Adelaide Manio, who is works employee Ryan Fernandez's mother. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.